in the game. You can't stop a player game in the ninth inning.
Tonight's combatants.
WGISports. We going sports with no chaser.
If he keeps getting hit with punches like that, it could mean real problems. Tonight, it's the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the...
Yes, sir. Check us out, though. YOUWGISports. Real coverage of sports. No BS talk. No coverage talk. Real sports talk, right?
We going sports with no chaser. From the 2-yard line.
I will love myself in a positive manner, and according to nature, produce my mental growth and my physical health. I will develop self-discipline and work with myself and others.
Good afternoon. My name is Vladimir, and I'm sitting here today at the Hurricane Martial Arts School with martial artist Kevin Sensei. Good afternoon, Kevin.
Hello, sir. How you doing? Nice to see you.
Getting the backwards.
That's all right.
But we're here to discuss today about your school, how you got started, where the name came from, and the discipline that goes into your techniques.
Okay.
Our first question today would be, where did the name Hurricane come from?
Hurricane. Yes. My instructor, Master Kevin Hudson. That's his. It was his Spider nickname. Master Hudson back in the '90s won 2 world titles as a kickboxer. He was a cruiserweight kickboxing champion. I think he won the first one in 1994. I believe that's the right date. But when he got started in the kickboxing, he was looking for a fighter name, and he mentioned a guy that, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a guy that rode motorcycles, dirt bikes, and that was his nickname. And you know, as a young boy, he rode dirt bikes too, and he liked the name Hurricane, so he kind of took it. Kind of like, yeah, I like that name Hurricane. It kind of flowed, Hurricane Hudson, and so that's kind of how it happened.
Oh, okay.
Nothing real special. You know? Yeah.
But that's how it is in MMA, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, UFC. How many years have you studied martial arts?
About 15 or 16 years now. I started when I was 27, and so it's been about that long.
What level are you at now?
I'm a 3rd degree black belt. Once you get your 1st degree black belt, after I got my black belt, I did take some time off for a little while, and so that was many years ago. And but once you get your 1st degree black belt, you have to wait 2 years to test for 2nd degree, and you have to wait 3 years to test for 3rd, 4 years for 4th, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be testing for 4th degree. I'll be eligible to test for 4th degree next December.
Will you doing it here in Greenville?
It'll be here somewhere, yeah. I'm not sure what I'll have to do yet. I'll have to talk to Master Hudson, that kind of stuff. It may be something totally, maybe, because, once you get to our level, there's not really anything else to learn as far as the Japanese, Shotokan karate that we teach.
Right.
So you're able to expand your horizon a little bit, maybe do some other forms of martial arts on your own time if you want to. But you want to stay active in the art that you're doing, practicing what you're doing. That way you can teach it and stuff like that. So when you test at this level, it's you've got to demonstrate that you still know what you're teaching.
Okay. That leads me to my next question. What kind of discipline is Hurricane martial arts?
Yeah, it's Japanese Shotokan karate. That's what it's based on. The gentleman Gichin Funakashi founded Shotokan around the turn of the century, early 1900s, and that's where it came from. It's a very powerful martial arts with low stances, with kicks and punches and strikes and things like that. So it's a kicking and strike with hand strikes as well. It's not just a kick dominant martial arts, but it's both.
Okay. Is there any grappling involved?
Not very. No, we don't do any kind of jiu-jitsu or anything like that. Just straight up. They're once the student gets to black belt, we do some sweeps, leg sweeps, and maybe some throws in their blocks and counters. But to answer your question, no, we don't do anything.
I noticed that within martial arts, some people, not all, when they get involved in martial arts, it begins to change their mindset. This is one of the 2 questions.
Okay.
They begin to change their mindsets where they begin to, I don't want to say feel invincible, but feel like they can fight anybody, just about. And is that because of the beginning training of martial arts, and you just getting into it?
Usually, when you a new student might have that kind of misconception. Who's just started a white belt, yellow orange belt, who thinks they come because they're in here and they're taking karate, that now they kind of maybe have a little elevated sense of ego about their ability. But most of the time, by the time a student sticks with it and trains long enough, being inside the karate school and on the floor here, when sparring, there'll be days, man, when it's not your day, and you get humbled a little bit, and you realize that you're not invincible. And so by the time the student gets to a black belt, after training for years, they don't have that elevated sense of ego anymore. And also as part of the instructors, I think that's our responsibility. That if I see a student that has a little bit of an ego attitude, that we need to let them know that, hey, you're not all that. Even someone who's been I've been training for 15 years, and that I'm not invincible. And so I think that's part of our responsibility is to help those students not get that ego about themselves. We're teaching them humility. Humility is a huge part of what we try to teach you.
You kind of answered my second question.
Okay.
My second question was, does it also take the teacher to humble that student?
Yeah.
Or does it depend on the teacher on how that student learns and grabs?
Well, you never, as an instructor, you never, as far as I would never physically, humble my students. As far as I know some, like as far as getting my gear on and sparring my kid, I would, we don't do that. But if I see, say if I have a 10-year-old who might have a little bit of an ego, and I got another 10-year-old that I know is better than I can put those two together and have one, handle it in that kind of way. And then there's also, there's all kind of sprints and burpees and push-ups and things of that nature. Because when you break the body down, that's when if you break the body down physically, that's when you can really teach somebody. And they can get their attention. And so a lot of what my training and stuff is I try to push myself, not just in martial arts, but in other physical activities. Really push yourself physically to get to that, to help my spirit, build my spirit up.
Gotcha. In martial arts today, does it serve or have the same impact as it did in the 80s, the mid-80s, early 80s? Because when we was kids,
yes.
Kids used to come outside, watching Channel 5 or whatever.
The old Fox. Yes.
And you have a high student ratio of kids wanting to learn martial arts.
Everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee and all those in the Kung Fu theater. I watched all the Kung Fu movies. I was the same way. And that's one reason I started martial arts, is that I always wanted a black belt. I always wanted to do that. And growing up, when I was a kid in the late 70s, early 80s, and I grew up in the country, there wasn't as many opportunities as there are today, and so we never did anything like that. We didn't play anything really, soccer or t-ball or any of that stuff, because we lived in the country on a small farm. But so I always wanted to do it. When I got to working and making my own money, I was like, I want to try that. So that's why I did. One of the main reasons I started martial arts was to get a black belt. But to answer your question, I don't know. The popularity of UFC and things like that. I don't know that it has the impact that the movies did for our generation.
Right.
Even towards later,
42.
Yeah, so we were about the same age. Like even later on, when we were in like high school, the Karate Kid movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big thing. It was real popular and stuff, and so. It's also too, some of the images that you see in the UFC are not conducive to like small kids and young kids. Some of the brashness and the egos out there, and of course, they're fighters, and that's part of their game. But as far as young kids, that's not necessarily. Sometimes it's not necessarily a good role model. There's some that are really good role models in the UFC, But I just don't know that it has the same effect as it did for us back then.
Probably not.
Probably not. I agree.
Because it changed.
Yeah, it changed. Dynamics changed.
Um,
Like I said, there are some really good guys out there that are doing it, that are respectful, and and they're good role models, and they're stuff like that. But some of them are not.
yeah, that's with life. Period.
Yes, sir. Exactly. You can take that anywhere. Whatever sport you look at, there's some good guys that play football, and there's some good guys that are also good that play football as well. And as far as if you have small children, they're into that kind of stuff. You got to help guide them into picking the right person to look up to, no matter what the sport is. It could be anything. It's just we're talking martial arts, and UFC was that, but it could be anything.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. How many years of training do you think goes into? I know it depends on different disciplines and so forth, but for the average martial artist, how many years does it take to move up to black belt to become a master?
Yeah. Well, master, but there are a black belt. Once you get your black belt, I know Master Hudson. He tells us all the time, especially one of the speeches he gives at a black belt ceremony, is that once you earn your black belt, you really don't know martial, you don't know karate. Okay, it's like getting your driver's license. And so when we got our driver's license, we didn't really know how to drive a car.
Right.
They gave us a permit. They gave us the opportunity to practice and learn how to drive a car. And now, so many years later, we're pretty good at it. We can drive a car, fairly well, and not kill people and stuff like that. But when you first got your driver's license, you didn't know what you're doing. And so getting your black belt is kind of the same way. And so a student that starts, coming twice a week, it takes around 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years to get a black belt. Depends on how their skill level and that kind of stuff. But around 3 years to get a black belt, and then 2 more years to get their second degree black belt. And second degree black belt is a pretty big cost. I mean, you've been training for almost 5 years, and you really the skill level definitely shows on someone who's been training that long.
I have my daughter here, and she loves it. And I see why most of the parents that are here, well, all the parents that are here actually, loves coming here. Why do you think that is? For the audience that don't know.
Okay.
Let me say that.
I mean, maybe, I would like to think that, I don't have any children at home. And so I take it very personal that, I really try to think and handle these kids like they were home. Right. And help them become better students and better people, and show them that they can become more than they think they're able to do. And you just gotta let the kids know that you care about them. I have to get on to them sometimes. I think kids look for teachers that are tough on them a little bit and discipline them. And don't let them get away with a lot of stuff. Kids look for that these days, and because it helps them grow and become young men and women. And and like I tell somebody, if I didn't care about them, I wouldn't get on to them. I'd let them run around and goof off and not try hard, and that's not what life's about. Because when they become adults, one day they're going to be young 20-year-olds, and life will be hard. And they need to be able to handle that. And so I hope that I express that, and the parents can see that I care about their kids, and that's really what it's about. Just helping the kids become better than they think they can be.
But my last question would be, what makes Hurricane Karate so special?
Yeah. Part of it, we have a really good, my teacher, Kevin Hudson, you couldn't ask for a more humble martial artist. I don't know if there's a mean bone in his whole body. I've never seen him get upset. I'm sure he does, like we all do. But he's just a super martial artist. He's a sixth degree black belt. He's getting ready to get his his 7th degree black belt through the Joe Louis fighting system. And I think it's this month. And so he's been doing. Master Hudson's been doing martial arts since he was 7 or 8. And so he started in the early 70s. And that's all he's ever wanted to do. He said he always wanted to be a martial artist, and he always wanted to be a world champion. And accomplished that. He bought Hurricane Martial Arts Center. He bought the school from his teacher, I think in '92. And so Hurricane Martial Arts Center is an entity that's been around since '92. And you know, he's 42, I believe, and that's all he's ever done. You know, he's been doing martial arts over 30 years, and you couldn't ask for a better instructor. And his brother, he used to work with him, was one of my teachers as well. So when I first started, it was Kevin Hudson and his brother Shannon Hudson, who's the CEO of 9 Round Kickboxing Fitness now. And so I had both those guys teaching me, and Shannon won the world title a few years ago as well as a kickboxer. But you know, you have both those guys, and they're super humble and super nice. And I learned how to teach from those guys and how to run a school and take care of the kids and things like that. And so I couldn't ask for a better lineage to pass along to the kids.
Well, WGI sports fans, you heard it first. Greenville Upstate, you got one of the best martial arts schools in the Upstate. I suggest that you check them out. This is Vladimir Sherry, sitting here with Sensei Kevin. And once again, see you later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.